Okay, now that you have had your brief orientation to the course, I want to go to Module 1 and go through it with you. So, Module 1, the goal is to learn how to evaluate and choose potential journals for manuscript submission. Here are your resources, and so these are just some short videos that I found on YouTube. This one explains how to use journal finders. This one talks about impact factor. These two are really very important about predatory journals. So there's an overview, and then this one's a little bit longer, but it does talk to you in very good detail about those three things. And then here is your journal evaluation assignment. So it's due May 28th by midnight on discussion board 1. So you need to evaluate potential journal options for your manuscript submission. So this assignment has 5 parts. Part 1, answer the following questions. What did you write about? What type of manuscript did you write? Who's your audience? So if you are going to use your paper from 6808, then that's going to be called an integrative literature review. There's a difference between the integrative literature review and systematic literature review. That's very important that you name it the right word, the right thing. So a systematic literature review is where you systematically and comprehensively review all of the literature, and then you can say with 99% confidence that you have retrieved every single article that was published about your topic within your parameters of your inclusion and exclusion criteria. And so that takes a very long time to do. It takes a professional librarian to do that search for you, since they really are the experts, and then it could take up to a year to actually get it all done. So you can see you didn't really do that in 6808. What you did was an integrative literature review, which means you have a topic, you went in, you found a good amount of articles, enough that you think would represent overall what kind of articles are published, and you did a review on those. So that's what y'all did in 67 or 6808. You went in, found some articles, synthesized them, and gave the findings. So if you're using that paper, then that's what you should call it. You could also do a research report, which of course would be different. And then a QI project report is something that the DMP typically does do, and what you will be publishing a lot once you graduate and you're working as a DMP. What did you write about? So that answer there is just going to be, what was your main topic? So if I'm thinking about the integrative literature review I did in 6808, I always talk about my example of loneliness and cognitive function. So you could put your title. So that title would be, what is the relationship of loneliness and cognitive function in the homebound elderly? So that really gives your peer, when they read this, a good idea of what you wrote about, what it was, who's your audience. So, who's reading this journal? Is it clinical nurses? Is it researchers? Is it patients or families? Is it healthcare professionals? It could really be anybody. And that's very important when you go to choose your journal, that you know who your audience is and that your manuscript is written to the proper audience. And we'll talk about that more as we go to number 2. Choose 3 prospective journals for your manuscript. Your top pick will be number 1, your second pick will be number 2, and your third pick will be number 3. So how do you find a journal? So you can just go onto the internet and look for scholarly journals. Just elderly, scholarly journals. Just put something in. But we have this cool little website called Jane right here that you can click on. And you can, oh, look, it's already in there. Loneliness and cognitive function. So you can put your query in that box up there, and that just means your topic, and you can put as much or as little as you want. You can type in the entire title, or you can just put in these 2 words. I'm going to add in the elderly, see if that makes a difference. And so then it says find journals. So this, they have all of the journals in a database, and they're able to match your keywords with the type of journals or the type of articles that these journals publish. So let's see if I press that. So it's really good. So this aging and mental health, Medline indexed. And if you want to just look at some of the other articles that they posted, the similarity, phone behavior and its relationship to loneliness in older adults. That's kind of cool. Mediating the relationship between loneliness and cognitive function, the role of depressive and anxiety symptoms, mental health symptoms and fluency in elderly people. So that's cognitive. Longitudinal analysis of the impact of loneliness on cognitive function over a 20-year follow-up. So that aging and mental health looks like a really good match. The second one, neuroscience letters. Association of MTHFR polymorphism with loneliness but not depression. Interleukin alpha genetic polymorphism. So I'm just reading those and saying that sounds much more scientific, and that really would make sense with neuroscience. So even though they do have loneliness in elderly articles, I'm not doing anything down to the interleukin or anything that has to do with the cellular level. So let's look at this one, this third one. Loneliness and cognitive function in older adults, findings from the Chinese Longitudinal Healthy Longevity Survey. Longitudinal associations between loneliness and cognitive ability in the Lothian birth cohort. So that is a really good one. The other thing I was going to tell you to look at is also the year this was published. So these are pretty recent, 2016, 2019. So this is a topic that they do print articles on recently. So let's go back to the very first one, the aging and mental health, and look at those years, 2015, 2019, 2018, 2019. So that's good. Let me look at this one, dementia and neurocognitive disorders. Only one. Loneliness in elderly patients with mild cognitive impairment, a pilot study, 2017. So that is a good one too. Just some things to think about. So, how do they seem to publish articles that are like yours? Are they recent? Have they done, if they've published already 3 or 4 of those, maybe in 2020 and 2021, they may or may not be willing to do another one. So, unless the whole journal is focused on loneliness and cognitive in the elderly. But this aging and mental health, I just know that they look at any kind of topic. So, but they haven't had a loneliness one since 2019. So they might be ready and be open to have another one for 2021 or 2022. When you see this, where it says Medline indexed, the journal's currently indexed in Medline, so it's reviewed by NLM at some point. However, authors should assess whether the journals are predatory. So I'll tell you what that means. But let's go down to, let's say maybe like they're one of these lower type of matches. So what about the gerontologist? Because that's actually a good journal. Safeness and treatment mitigate the effects of loneliness on satisfaction with elderly care. Gerontologist 15. So that is a match too. Somewhat of a match, but there's only this one article. So I think you can just see these are ranked from the best match all the way down to the least best match. But I'm going to go back one because I want to talk to you. We're going to have a big conversation about predatory journals. So this type of website, Jane, they aren't going to intentionally put a predatory journal on here. So you can trust that the journals on here are not predatory and that they are legitimate. However, they, are saying that when you go, you still need to be aware of them because they're very sneaky and they can just sneak themselves in, and they're getting much more good at doing that. So they're tricking you by thinking, oh, this is a good, quality journal, when really it's a predatory journal. And we'll explain all of that later. So let's see. Let me go back. So journal guide, let's look at this one. Similar, let's see. It's searching and filtering, comparing journals from 46,000 titles. Created by a group of software developers, former researchers. Okay, so then you could just go in and put up, I'm going to put, I'm not sure what happened there, but I'm going to put loneliness and cognitive function and the elderly. Why is something weird? Okay, so something weird is happening right here. So I'm going to go ahead and stop this recording because my max time is 15 minutes anyway. And then I'll do another one that'll be called part 2, and I'll just pick up right here and keep going.